Welcome to a new series that I am going to start today called Techniques for the Win. Now, how this is going to work is basically when I come across very practical positions that add value to pretty much any level of chess, whether you could be, say, a 1,000 rated player or a 2,000 rated player. I believe that going over certain things will also help you and help your endeavors on you achieving your goals in chess. So, as you see this position here on the board, it is white to play. Now, obviously, this here is not a checkmating theme. This is not a um, necessarily white to play and win. But let's put it this way: white is winning in this position. But how do you maintain that win, especially when black is threatening your pawn on f2 and subsequently threatening your pawn on h3? So let me just give you a sample line. Let's just say if white just does nothing and he takes, you take, he push, and then you come here. Again, you can't take this pawn because he could just here would be checkmate, right? This all right. So with that said, now let's go back to the beginning of the position here. Now just take a look at this here. What would you do here as white? Well, I mean, in other words, not necessarily, don't think of a move, like think of like what do you see here in this process? What do you see here in this board? So if you look at my topics that are covered, you're going to begin to start wrapping your head around the driving on, meaning we need to drive a piece to a certain square. And this is going to be somewhat defensive because, again, as of right now, black, quote unquote, appears to be on the offense against your f2 pawn and your h3 pawn. Also, there's a color complex here. There's black squares that are very weak around the king. And if you notice, I'll give you a hint, the f2 square also is a black square. And this is obviously going to entail some forced moves. So the proper way to think about this is, again, is okay, how can we stop black from taking on f2, but also achieving our goal of maintaining our winning advantage here as white? So you might be surprised to know that actually the first move is actually b takes a4. And you might be thinking, didn't he just say that knight takes f2 is a threat? But now, if you really look at this and just think back to what I said about the color complexes, the driving on, and all of the topics I've covered over to the left side of your screen, you might come to a conclusion that this is actually a blunder. All right. So we're going to begin with some force moves, which the first move here is going to be rook to b8 check. Obviously, the only move, king g7. Now, we have to continue with forced moves. But also, before you make your forced move, not only is f2 a black square, take a look at d2. So, in other words, how can you achieve your goals of taking advantages of black squares on the king side, and of the black king side, and you coming back and taking advantage of black squares on the white king side? This is why this position is so amazing, though it's not, again, some crazy computer line or some crazy checkmating idea. It's just a great technique. So you're kind of going to be Schrodinger's cat slightly. You're going to be sorted in two places at one time. And by this next move, you're going to almost see what I'm talking about. All right, king steps up. And look at this, bishop to f8 check. Well, black only has squeeze three squares, which is G8, H8, and F6. And of course, if he go to either one of these squares here, only black back rank bishop to H6 would be made in 2 moves. All right, just to give you an example, let's just say if we step back so you can see, and again, mate after this move here. Okay, let's just say he didn't do that. Okay, so the only reasonable move for black to go is to H6. Now we've achieved the first part of exposing why this is a blunder, because now this knight is pinned. This knight cannot move. Okay. And now we've taken advantage of the black squares on the king side of the black pieces. Now let's go back and take advantage of the black squares on the king side of the white pieces. And we're going to begin doing that with bishop to H4. This is a very hard, actually it's a pretty hard sequence to find, but it ain't really about sometimes necessarily calculating your way. It's about tuition. It's about understanding different techniques and how you may kind of piece them together to come up with a winning line such as this. Now, the rook is attacked. The knight can't move. So what does black do? Well, the only defensive try black can, I mean, there's a couple of moves he can do that doesn't lose worse on the spot. Because, for example, let's just say if black does this, well, this here is, you know, just the same as just as winning. It doesn't really matter because, in fact, he didn't even have to check. You could check, or you can just immediately takes, and there you have it. Just a full rook up, just like that. And so let's go back. So now he's back here. So the only real move to try here is rook to H2. And here is the crown jewel of why this is so winning for white and why this is hard to see, because of this move right here. Bishop to E1. Threatening to win everything. However, black is just forced to give up to his change. I mean, black can take this pawn here, but this here, black is up a pawn. Black is up the exchange. And in fact, black has to move. Well, actually, by taking that pawn, he just lost the game by this here. So technically, black can't even take this pawn. He has to move his knight out first. And because of this, well, there's probably many ways you can play this here. I mean, probably the most straightforward. I mean, because again, if you don't want to put your rooks in a passive position. So I should have used that as a topic cover. But in any case, to be able to get to this here, this is a whole nother topic of technique here, having two rooks versus a rook and a minor piece. But to get to this position is what you wanted to achieve, and we've got to it. So again, just to go a little bit further with this, you probably want to go like rook to F1. And no matter where the king goes, I mean, you probably do something like this. I mean, just double the rooks, put two pigs on the 7th. And I mean, well, the game is essentially over at this point here because, you know, for example, this is just a sample line. And then we can even take here and then just go back over, you know, you could go here. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's about anything you can do in all honesty. I mean, there's really nothing you can't do. I mean, you could check here, bring your rook here, push this pawn. I mean, essentially anything here is winning for black. But with that said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this position as much as I did, to go all the way from this position here, where it appears that black is threatening your F2 pawn and subsequently your H3 pawn, to a position where black is just, I mean, white is just winning just like that.